There's a video so dangerous, it's selling for $500 million on the dark web. And the man trying hardest to erase it is Diddy himself. If this footage ever leaks, it won't just ruin Diddy, it could expose the most powerful people in Hollywood. Someone just paid $500 million for a secret tape, and insiders say what's on it could end careers, destroy empires, and even get people killed. They say power protects itself at any cost. But what happens when a secret this big starts to slip through the cracks? This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's the story of a man who knows too much, and a system terrified of being exposed. The internet says there's a secret tape from Diddy's parties, and someone just dropped $500 million to make it disappear. But it might already be too late. They thought their secrets would stay buried forever, until one man found the footage they never wanted the world to see. A mysterious tape has surfaced on the dark web, and the price tag is jaw-dropping. We're talking nearly $500 million. But this isn't some random leaked video. Rumor has it, the footage captures some of Hollywood's biggest stars caught doing things they never wanted the world to see. And at the center of it all is Diddy, whose life, according to insiders, might actually be in danger because of it. Sources close to the situation say Diddy is doing everything in his power to make this mysterious tape disappear, no matter what it costs him. Rumors about a secret recording have been swirling around Hollywood's underground circles for months, but what's really going on runs much deeper than most people imagine. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. What's being whispered behind closed doors could expose some of the most powerful names in entertainment, people who thought their secrets would stay hidden forever. According to multiple insiders, this so-called tape isn't just embarrassing footage, it's potentially career-ending evidence involving A-list stars, influential figures, and even political connections. It's the kind of thing that could shake the foundations of the industry and reveal just how far some have gone to protect their power. And that's why Diddy, the man at the center of it all, is reportedly desperate. Sources say he's been offering mind-blowing amounts of money to track it down. The number being whispered? Around $500 million. That's not just a payout, that's a life-or-death move to erase something that could destroy far more than his image. To understand how things got to this point, we have to rewind. For decades, Diddy has been one of the most connected men in the entertainment world. From the early days of Bad Boy Records to his business ventures and celebrity friendships, he's had access to nearly everyone who mattered. Artists, actors, producers, and executives, his reach extended into every corner of the industry. But that same reach might now be his biggest problem. Because if what's said to be on that tape is real, it doesn't just involve him, it implicates others. Big names. People who've built entire empires on clean public images. Insiders claim the footage captures more than just wild party scenes. It allegedly shows moments that cross serious moral and legal lines, the kind of evidence that could lead to criminal investigations if ever released. Some reports even suggest it contains proof of exploitation, manipulation, and behavior that's been whispered about for years, but never publicly confirmed. That's why so many believe this is more than a scandal, it's a threat to a system that's protected the powerful for decades. People who've worked in the industry for years say there's always been a darker side, secret gatherings, coded invitations, and the idea that what happens here stays here. Diddy's parties were legendary, but they were also the subject of endless speculation. Guests often spoke about the strange energy, the secrecy, and the unspoken rules. Even celebrities who once attended them now seem to distance themselves. Comedian Cat Williams said it best back in January 2024 when he warned that all eyes will be exposed and called out Diddy by name. Months later, Diddy was arrested, and suddenly Cat's words didn't sound like a joke anymore. Then there's 50 Cent, who's been vocal about these allegations for years. He said time and time again that something about those parties didn't sit right, that Diddy's kindness often came with strings attached. Now, 50 is producing a Netflix documentary reportedly digging into those very claims, describing it as a story with massive human impact. Other big names have hinted at the same thing, that the public has no idea what really goes on behind the scenes. Actor Brandon T. Jackson once shared that Denzel Washington warned him about certain Hollywood circles, saying, "Leave 30 minutes before the devil gets there." It wasn't just advice about parties, it was a warning about knowing when to walk away. And that brings us back to this alleged tape. If the rumors are true, it doesn't just expose Diddy's behavior, it shows who was around him, who participated, and who stayed silent. That's why so many people, not just Diddy, are terrified of it surfacing. The fallout wouldn't stop with him. It would ripple through the entire entertainment world, taking down careers, reputations, and possibly even companies. Some believe the footage is now circulating through private channels deep in Hollywood's underground. Others claim it's in federal hands, locked away as part of a larger investigation. Either way, it's clear that someone has it, and Diddy wants it gone before the world ever sees it. The real question is, why would someone risk holding onto something so dangerous? For leverage? Protection? Or are they waiting for the right time to make it public? Because if the footage ever leaks, it won't just destroy one man. It could expose an entire system, one built on silence, loyalty, and fear. So by the time this story unfolds, you'll understand exactly who's believed to have the footage, what's allegedly on it, and why Diddy's fighting so hard to bury it. Because in a world where power protects itself at all costs, one leak could be enough to bring everything crashing down. It all starts with a man named Courtney Burgess. He appeared on News Nation and made a shocking claim. He says he once held 11 flash drives that originally belonged to Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex-girlfriend and the mother of 4 of his children. Kim tragically passed away in 2018, but according to Courtney, a friend passed him those drives, and what's on them is disturbing. He says the files include digital evidence from Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, including 8 videos showing 8 different celebrities. 6 of them are men, 2 are women. Courtney also claims one of the drives contained a written manuscript, almost like a diary supposedly belonging to Kim Porter. But her own children have spoken out, calling that document fake. Still, what really matters here is what Courtney says about the videos themselves. According to his testimony, the celebrities in the footage weren't willing participants, they were victims. He says all 8 appeared intoxicated, possibly under the influence, and that none of them seemed aware they were being recorded. Even more disturbing, he claims 2 of the male celebrities looked like they could have been underage. Courtney went on to describe how the cameras were allegedly hidden in places no one would expect: bedrooms, bathrooms, and private areas, capturing moments no one consented to. Every person in the videos, he says, looked impaired in some way. Then the story takes another turn. An attorney named Ariel Mitchell-Kidd, who represents one of Diddy's accusers, came forward with her own revelation. She says someone recently contacted her, asking if she would help sell one of these so-called Diddy tapes. She turned it down immediately, but her story confirms that the tapes are being shopped around Hollywood and even offered on the dark web to the highest bidder. According to Ariel, this isn't just about exposure, it's about extortion. The sellers allegedly want to reach out to the celebrities caught in the footage and offer them a deal, pay up, or the tape goes public. Classic blackmail. Ariel also revealed she's seen still images, actual screenshots, from one of the videos. And that alone suggests this might be more than just another Hollywood rumor. According to attorney Ariel Mitchell-Kidd, the person featured alongside Diddy in one of these alleged videos isn't just another celebrity. She claims this individual is even more famous than Diddy himself. Let that sink in. Someone with a bigger public profile, caught on camera in a very explicit video, completely unaware they were being filmed. The recording, she says, was made inside Diddy's Atlanta home, using a hidden camera. That's not just a scandal, that's illegal surveillance at its worst. Now here's where things spiral into something even wilder. Reports claim that one of these so-called freak-off tapes has already been sold on the dark web for around $500 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But when you consider the kind of names being whispered about, it starts to make a little more sense. Online chatter has been linking this footage to massive stars, people like Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, and Drake. To be absolutely clear, none of that has been confirmed. These are just unverified names floating around online. Still, the fact that these kinds of A-list figures are even being mentioned shows how big this situation could be. The tape in question supposedly comes from a wild night in Calabasas, and someone allegedly paid $500 million to own it. But the twist doesn't stop there. Word on the street is that Diddy himself might be connected to the sale. Think about it. He's under massive legal pressure, facing multiple lawsuits, and dealing with steep legal bills while awaiting trial behind bars. Some sources claim he's so desperate for money and leverage that he's willing to sell evidence, even evidence that could be used against him. If that's true, it says everything about how bad his situation really is. Federal prosecutors, meanwhile, are trying to keep these so-called freak-off tapes completely sealed from the public. And that's not just Diddy's legal team saying it, it's the feds themselves. They've reportedly argued that both the video and the audio should never reach the public or the media. Their reasoning? They say the content is too sensitive, involving multiple individuals, some of whom might be victims. Only the jury, they insist, should be allowed to view the material in court. Now, that sounds like standard procedure to protect victims, but critics are starting to wonder if there's more to it. Because the question that keeps coming up is, who are they really protecting? Think about it. If these tapes include billionaires, politicians, or powerful industry figures, there's a lot at stake. These are people with the influence and money to make problems disappear. So while the feds say they're keeping the footage private for legal reasons, others believe it's about shielding those with serious connections. If justice is truly the goal, shouldn't transparency be part of that process? It's a question that's making a lot of people uneasy. Adding another layer to the story is a disturbing blind item that's been circulating online, one allegedly about Diddy and rapper Eve. If you're unfamiliar, a blind item is basically an anonymous leak, a story about celebrities without directly naming them. This particular one, titled The Tape, claims there was an intimate video involving Diddy and Eve that wasn't leaked by accident, but on purpose. According to the source, this was part of a long-standing pattern. Back in the day, Diddy allegedly used these kinds of tactics to keep artists close. He'd bring them into his circle, encourage them to stay with Bad Boy Records, and make sure he controlled their songs, writing credits, and publishing rights. In other words, their money and their future. Diddy had a way of pulling people in. He'd show you the luxury, the parties, the private jets, the connections that could change your career overnight. For a new artist, it was the dream. But once you accepted that world, there were strings attached. You were expected to join in on his private parties, the ones that were filmed. Everyone knew cameras were rolling. And if you were just starting out, like Eve allegedly was at the time, saying no wasn't really an option. The deal was simple, or so it seemed. As long as you stayed loyal, the footage stayed hidden. But the moment you pushed back or tried to walk away, that's when things turned dark. Suddenly, the tapes became leverage. Threats. A way to keep people under control. It was pure manipulation, using fear and exposure to keep power. It's gone viral again. In it, Khloe Kardashian talks about a wild Vegas weekend where she partied with Diddy, Quincy, and Justin Bieber. She casually mentions that half the people there were naked, like it was nothing. But when her friend pressed her for details, Khloe got visibly uncomfortable and quickly shut the conversation down, saying, "Stop talking." It was one of those moments that made people wonder, what was she afraid of revealing? And it's not just Hollywood. The connections stretch even higher. Believe it or not, 3 U.S. presidents, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump, have all been publicly linked to Diddy over the years. They've appeared with him, attended the same events, even partied in the same circles. Now, that doesn't mean they were involved in anything inappropriate, but the associations alone are enough to raise eyebrows. Especially now, as Diddy faces his second trial. Reports suggest that over 100 well-known names could come up during the proceedings. Some have already been mentioned, others are surfacing as jury selection continues. Even Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man himself, has reportedly been connected in some way, though no one knows exactly how yet. What's clear is that the entertainment world is on edge. Behind the scenes, a lot of powerful people are worried about how deep these connections might run and what could be exposed next. The internet is in overdrive right now, connecting dots, drawing theories, and questioning every celebrity tied to Diddy. People want to know which stars were closest to him, and could any of them end up tangled in his legal mess? One moment that's really fueling speculation came from an interview with Ashton Kutcher. When he was asked about his experiences with Diddy, Ashton laughed nervously and said, "I've got a lot I can't tell." He even paused, thinking about what he could share, before admitting he couldn't talk about any of it. Then, strangely enough, he brought Diddy up again later in the same conversation, unprompted. That left a lot of people wondering, what exactly does Ashton know and why can't he talk about it? But that's not the only story making headlines. The show's host then shifted to a completely different topic, one that hit just as hard emotionally. She recalled covering the Elizabeth Smart case years ago, when the 14-year-old was kidnapped in Salt Lake City and held captive for 9 long months. Her kidnappers, Brian David Mitchell and his wife Wanda Barzee, assaulted her repeatedly until she was finally rescued. Mitchell is now serving life without parole, but Barzee was released early on a technicality, a decision that outraged many, including the host herself. Now, Barzee has reportedly violated her parole terms, and the question is, will she finally be sent back to prison? A well-known sex crimes prosecutor was scheduled to discuss that case live on air. Then came another story that stirred up just as much anger, this one connected to Diddy's past. Most people don't know that Usher once lived with Diddy when he was just 14 years old. It was part of something called Puffy Flavor Camp, supposedly a mentorship program for young artists. But years later, Usher admitted that some very strange things happened during that time, things he didn't really understand back then. When someone later asked him if he'd ever send his own child to something like that, his answer was immediate: hell no. That one sentence said it all. Then there's comedian Cat Williams, who's been outspoken about Diddy for years. Back in January 2024, he did an interview that almost sounded prophetic. He said, "All lies will be exposed," calling out Diddy by name and warning that 2024 would be the year they all catch hell. Cat claimed he turned down massive sums of money just to avoid attending Diddy's infamous parties. And a few months later, Diddy was arrested. Another figure who's never stayed quiet is 50 Cent. He's repeatedly spoken about the energy at Diddy's gatherings, saying they felt manipulative, more like traps than celebrations. Now, he's taking things further by producing a Netflix documentary about the entire saga. He's described it as a story with real human consequences and made it clear that he's not backing down, no matter who it upsets. Even actor Brandon T. Jackson has chimed in, sharing a powerful piece of advice he once got from Denzel Washington. A reminder, he said, about staying grounded and protecting your integrity in an industry full of temptation and corruption. Few people have been as deeply woven into pop culture over the past 30 years. And now, that same web of connections might be the reason his life is in danger. Let's talk about why this mysterious tape is allegedly worth $500 million and why Diddy is so desperate to make it disappear. We're not just talking about celebrities. We're talking about billionaires, politicians, and industry power players, people with more money, more influence, and more to lose than most of us could ever imagine. If what's rumored to be on that tape is real, it could end careers, destroy empires, and expose a system that's been protected for decades. That's why the stakes are so high. The fact that Diddy is reportedly willing to spend $500 million to bury the footage says everything. Whatever's on it, it's not just damaging, it's explosive. If the tape ever sees the light of day, it wouldn't just take down Diddy. It could shake Hollywood and possibly even politics to its core. That's the kind of fallout the powerful will do anything to prevent. And history tells us what happens to people who threaten the elite. They don't last long. They disappear. They meet with accidents. They find themselves trapped in situations they can't escape. Diddy might be one of those people now, caught in the middle of something much bigger than himself. He knows too much, and that makes him dangerous to everyone around him. But at the same time, his own desperation for money, control, or survival might push him into moves that could cost him everything, including his life. Because in the end, this story isn't just about Diddy's alleged crimes. It's about a system, one that's protected certain people for years, no matter who got hurt. If this tape ever goes public, it won't just expose the acts themselves. It'll expose the network of people who looked the other way, who covered it up, who helped keep the machine running. That's why it's valued at $500 million. That's why the feds want it locked away. And that's why so many powerful names are terrified of it coming out. So here's the question, what happens next? Will the truth finally surface, or will power and money bury it forever? The next few months could change everything. Let's see if justice actually wins, or if the same people who built the system manage to protect it one more time.